Today we're going to go over plane sharpening or plane blade sharpening. I got in the mail a few weeks ago, but since I've been working on a burn, I haven't been able to sharpen it. And this is a Hawk tool blade, a Hawk. These things are like amazing. If I can just show you, where's my other blade? Well, here it is. Here's my spare. We're gonna go over the blade on the number 7, which is a 3-inch blade. Now, if you can just take a look at these right here. Right? This thing is way thicker. The blade is, actually, this is the chip breaker. My bad. All right, let's start all this. Let's start this all over again. Alright guys, hey, we're going to be going over today a little essential part of what we do in the wood shop here, and that is plane blade sharpening. Now, this here is my good old number 7. This is what I use to flatten large boards or pretty much anything really. It is a good honking 8 to 10 pounds of steel. And it takes a little force to get into that, but it does take off beautiful shavings. Now, this is the original blade that it came with. It is a, I think it's a Grizzly. So if you could take a look at this blade, I got a Hawk blade not too long ago in the mail, and since I've been working on a job, I have not been able to sharpen the blade. It already comes pretty close to dang near razor sharp, but you want to just take a look at these blades and the difference in thickness, so you know when it comes to a Hawk blade you're getting durability for one. And these things, this is an A2 blade, so it's cryogenically treated to hold that edge super long. I mean, I had a mishap and I dropped my last one and the whole tip of the blade chipped off, and you know, because they're so hard, they're brittle. But these things are amazing. Hawk blades, check them out. They are an American owned company, but their product is no longer made in America. It's made in France, and it will say Hawk France on there. So what we're gonna do, the thing with the blades, right, is you're gonna look at it and it's gonna look sharp. It's gonna look sharp until you try to use it, and then you're gonna notice tear out or my biggest. I'm sorry, I'm still fighting a bit of a cold. So you will know when your blades are not sharp. So one of the easiest ways to tell if it is sharp, you turn it upside down, you hold it right in here, and you put your thumb, just like that, and you rest the blade on your nail. And that right there is a pretty dang sharp blade, because like, there's no slippage. And I just got this out of the package. So there's really not too much honing that needs to be done with this blade, but just so you can see an old used blade, like I have used it. I was recently plating a piece of wood not too long ago, and see, it doesn't really catch. It catches a little, but you know, it's still pretty sharp, don't get me wrong. But we're gonna set this down. Actually, we're gonna set this down over here where I put my spare blades. And we'll put that over with the original chip breaker that it came with. down and put this back. Well, anyway, so what we're gonna do, we got my little Smith's tri-hone here. It is a lot smaller than I wish I had, but you know, it does serve its purpose. They usually come with a little tiny vial of honing solution, and it goes too fast. And I've learned through video tutorials and stuff like that that this right here works just as well. And it also serves a double purpose of keeping your honing stones not clean, because the metal is gonna dirty them up a little bit, but at least it's gonna keep the honing block, the honing stone, nice and wet and lubed for you. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna throw a couple, two good sprays maybe, and you always start with the back of the blade, okay? And you put it on there nice and flush, because you do not want to mess with that flat bevel on the back, or the flat, you can really screw your blade up if you try to, you know, angle it or anything like that. So what you want to do, get this thing nice and flat. You can feel it when it's not on there right. You can definitely feel it, or at least I can. I'm a little OCD, so I can feel when certain things are off. But you're gonna go figure 8 motion works. And then you can kind of hear it. Okay? You hear that sound right there. Figure 8. Circle back and forth. There we go. And you wipe off the back end of it. Be very careful. This is super sharp. It will go through this if you're not careful. And you kind of want, it's kind of polishing. All right, so we're not really going to get where we need to get with this one, because we're in the middle ground. We didn't want to go all the way down to the coarse block, so we're on the middle. Another thing that you want to check is if you have a light off to the, off to this distance, you hold the blade up eye level, and you kind of hold it off toward the light, so the light comes in perpendicular to the blade. And if you can see any little bit of reflection here, your blade is not sharp. It's not razor sharp. You want 0 light on the tip of that blade. Like, you don't want to see anything. If you see anything whatsoever, your blade is not sharp. Okay? So remember that. So we just lube this block up one more time, and nice and flat. Make sure you use your fingers on there, that way you can keep all the pressure. And we go again. Figure 8 motion. Remember not to keep it, not to round it over or anything. You want to keep it flat. Alright. This thing right here saves so much. Like, I personally like doing things by hand. I don't have a planer. I do have a jointer, but that is for, I'm trying to get into like furniture making, and my phone is ringing. I forgot to turn that off again. And yes, I'm an 80s kid, Police Academy. Give me 1 second, finish this off, and I will turn that off and mute it. Oh, they did the favor for me. See? We'll go right through if you're not careful. And again, I have a neurological condition and neuropathy, and I just sliced myself and didn't feel it. So you guys gotta be careful. All right. And see, now you can notice there's a little bit more of a shine going on, and that's where we're headed. Okay, I believe we can probably move on. And you don't want to skip back and forth. Like, we're on the medium blade or the medium block. We don't want to get the front and the back of the blade. So you move on to your fine. This thing is just bleeding like crazy. Your fine blade, why do I keep saying that? Your fine block here. Lube this one up. You don't need as much on this one. And again, nice and flat. Got blood everywhere. All right, nice and flat on there. And see, you're gonna hear a lot less on this one. And you only hear noise on this when you're there. Figure 8 motion, keep it nice and flat. And I do believe that phone call might have been my brother. So I'm probably gonna have to cut this off. But here we go. You're starting to hear a little bit there. Now the beautiful thing about this is when you're honing, you're taking off minute, especially right now we're on the fine block, minute amounts of steel here. So we're also building up what's called slurry on the blade and on the block. And that also, it's kind of like mud almost, like a really fine clay. And see, you're starting to hear a little more. And that right there is more, it's more of what you need to get that blade where you need to get. There you go. Starting to hear a little more. Figure 8 motion. Remember to keep the blade flat on the block and keep just working it. What you're looking for also is less resistance. You can definitely feel when the blade, see, this is just ice skating over the block now, and you hear a little, I don't know if you can hear that. There we go. Again, be careful. You don't want to slice it out again. And there you go. Flat block, flat back. Check against the light. And we have zero lighting on there. I wish you could see that. But again, you're holding it up to the light. The light's coming across this way, like slightly at an angle, and then you do not want to see anything across that blade. Been out of frame, but the idea and concept is still there. Okay, we're still working with the hawk blade, and can't really tell here, but what we're going for is a mirror-like finish. So we still have plenty to go on this, even though it can probably, it already passed the sharpness test earlier, but as you can see, I am like barely, not even holding on to it. So that's just, that's how sharp it is. So if I do this enough, you're gonna be able to see like a little mini ladder in my nail. So we're going for a mirror-like finish on the back. So there we go. Actually, you don't really need too much on this one, so maybe one good squirt. maybe even half of that, to be honest. And you're gonna rub again in a figure 8 motion. Keep the blade as flat as possible. You don't want to mess with the, it's already pretty flush and what's the word I'm looking for? Dang, I can't even think about it. See, that's the thing with a neurological condition. Words that you normally know are they're not there when you need them sometimes. And oh my God, you don't know how many times I've ran into guys at the VA and employees and other vets who have had traumatic brain issues or otherwise, but yeah, it's a constant struggle with individuals such as us, where, I forgot what a broom was. I was stuck on the number 19, no, 20, sorry. I was stuck on the number 20 for a good 45 seconds once, and, when it happens, it's not a good feeling. It's pretty frustrating and it's scary, but it happens. And you deal with it the way you deal with it when it happens, but freaking out about it doesn't help. Trust me. I'm gonna wipe off some of the excess, and we're getting there. We're getting there. Basically, this thing is already, down to the thousandth of an inch in terms of being flush, and I'm still spacing on that word, but y'all know what I mean. When you mess up one of these blades, you learn basically how to do it right and what not to do again. So, I've had to resurface these, and my experience as a welder in the military, my experience as a welder kind of helped with that, so I kind of knew what to do to get that thing, I'm still spacing on that word, but get the blades back to where they need to be in terms of being flat again. And what we're thinking of in terms of flat, it may look flat, but I'm using the wrong chip breaker, but I know I have it around here somewhere, but we can use this one for reference. It is also a Hawk chip breaker, but what we're looking at in terms of flatness is if there's a minute gap in here at all between the blade and the breaker, when you're trying to plane, the smallest little shaving could get in there, and then that's going to open it up for more and more, and the next thing you know, you're going to have a gap in there filled with wood. You're not going to be cutting anymore because the breaker's not doing its job by helping the blade clear, what's not supposed to be there. And then if you keep trying to push it, you could seriously damage your blade. So the thing is, you want these things to be sharp but flush against each other when they're, the two surfaces are mating, So it's also good, to have your breaker on hand. And I know I had mine on hand. I just, I've been moving stuff around, and I was looking for a elbow brace. I kind of threw my elbow out earlier playing fetch with my dog. And again, that's another thing that just happens with me. So that's the backup breaker. But anyway, you want to put these together and check along with checking against the light. And now it's a lot better here for me to check because I'm not in natural light anymore. So this thing is pretty much right where it needs to be as long as it cuts, but we're still looking for that mirror finish. And you can kind of see it right around there and there, and they're kind of meeting in the middle. So that means that there's still a little bit of work there in terms of getting that flush. What really matters is that right along the surface of the blade edge is polished. So I guess you can kind of quit there if you really want, but we're not going to do that. So now this is kind of dried off and you're kind of just gliding now. This is ice skating along, like I said. Remember not to add too much pressure. See, if you're trying to, oh, I'm going to keep these blades flush because this is what I did. Oh, I'm going to keep the plain blade edge flush and make sure that that's nice and polished. But what you're doing is taking a little more off of this and neglecting this. So when the surfaces mate again, you're ending up with a huge gap. So hence why I had to resurface my plain blades. So when you're adding the pressure on the back side of it, like when you're planing when you're honing the back side of it, you want that pressure here about maybe 3/4 of an inch from the edge of the surface. I want to make sure I'm in frame here. Sorry, about 3/4 of an inch from the 3/4 of an inch from the edge of the surface blade edge, and that way the pressure is off of the edge there, and you just scoot that along here in your figure 8.